Hey, hi, how you going? It's your mate Valstride, and if you clicked on this video, it's probably for one of two reasons. Either A, you're looking for some cheeky little glitches that might save you a bunch of time, or B, you're here to comment below about how much of a monster I am for telling people of such things and how I need to go home and rethink my life. Either way, welcome to the video, and I hope there's something in here for you. Let's check it out. Alright, so Home Sweet Home dropped a few weeks ago, and today I'm going to be giving you the best 5 glitches that still work. Glitches or exploits, and we're just going to be defining an exploit pretty simply as something that confers an advantage to the player that is presumably not intended by the devs. So the first one of these is going to be condensed chaining. Now, I have had a few people ask me about this on stream recently, so I thought it would be important to include, and it is the one that I probably use the most personally out of everything on this list. It is going to be super handy for anyone who is breeding raids, because you're only going to need to breed enough to fully condense one pal in your army instead of all of them. So to make this work, we're going to need two things. The first is going to be the global power box, and the second is the power condensing station. And we want to start off by taking our very first PAL that is already fully condensed and then putting it into the global power box. Now, it's worth noting here that you cannot use PALs who have this DNA icon to condense other PALs. It doesn't work at all, so you have to start with a fresh set of PALs, or at least one PAL with no DNA icon, and then you're going to make a copy of it in the global power box. And this is critical so that you don't lose the PAL once you condense it, because what you'll be able to do, in effect, is use this PAL to condense into this one, meaning you lose this original copy, but then you can come back later and bring it back out of the power box. Now, I'm not going to do that, because if you do, it'll ask you if you want to replace the original PAL, in which case the new copy is going to have the DNA icon. So you don't want to do that just yet. You want to head over to the condensing station now, and then you want to select your PAL that you want to condense, and you want to use this first fully condensed PAL to condense that one. It is a little bit daunting because you are going to lose your PALs, but don't worry. Remember, we've got the copy over in the global power box. So it's going to ask you, it's going to say there's some material wasted because I've already condensed this one a little bit. And there you go. Now we've got another non-DNA marked PAL with fully condensed stars. Now we need to go back to the global power box, and then we just need to make a copy of this one. So we're going to put this one in here. And now you can see why this is called condensed chaining, because we're just going to continue to repeat this process all the way down the line for all of our other PALs. So as you're expecting, this is going to save you a bunch of time. You can do full raid armies like this. And I recommend that you do all of them at once before you start bringing the other PALs back out. Otherwise, you might get confused. So it just makes it a little bit easier that way. And you can also see that I've put these PALs at the back of my PAL box in their own storage box, just so that it's easier to isolate them and you don't stuff up. Because if you stuff up the process somewhere, it's going to be incredibly messy and you have a risk of losing your PALs. Now, it is worth noting that there's a world setting which you do need to have ticked on, both to put PALs into the global power box and then a separate setting to pull them out. So you need to have both of those turned on, otherwise this is not going to work. So as you can see, I've skipped ahead a little bit. We're down to our last PAL that is now fully condensed, which means we're ready to bring the other PALs out of the global power box so that we can start using them. Now, I do recommend here that you don't put this last one into the global power box and give it the DNA stamp, because otherwise you won't be able to continue the chain later. So if you just leave this one here without the stamp, you can breed more of these and start the chain with this one, meaning you can go all over again. So I'm just going to bring all of these other ones back out. And as you can imagine, this is going to allow you to breed raid armies in a fraction of the time. But we're ready to move on to number 2 now. And remember, if you enjoy this content, like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps support the channel a lot. But this one is going to be a duplication glitch, which lets us duplicate any items that are consumed by our PALs. So it's going to be really good for the kinship peaches or the IV fruits, or even the applied technique manuals if you're using it to improve your base PALs. And once again, to showcase how this works, we are going to return to our Saline army. So once you've got the PALs in your party and you're ready to upgrade them, the first thing you want to do is log out and then log back in again, because this is going to create a backup save that you're going to reload later. And if you are going to use this one, I also highly recommend increasing your autosave timer within your world settings, because otherwise, if it's too frequent, then there's a chance that the autosave will happen while you're trying to use all of the items, and it might make your reboot a little more confusing. after you've logged back in, go ahead and start using all of the items on your pals to upgrade them. And you can see here that I started with 53 kinship peaches, which is enough to max my entire party to 10 trust. And I'm also going to be using some IV fruits for a few of these. And you can even use it for things like XP scrolls or pal souls if you want. Although those items are a lot easier to farm, so there's not as much incentive to exploit them in this way. But if you're already doing it for a couple of things, you may as well do it for all of them at the same time. And after you're done consuming all of the items, head back to the PAL box and then put the pals away. And again, I like to put them onto the back box just so that they're easier to find. And then head over to the global PAL box and make copies of the improved pals there. And unlike the previous exploit, this one doesn't matter if you already have the DNA icon on the PAL, it still works either way. And then after the pals are safely in the global PAL box, you can log out once more, and this time, before you log back in, you're going to come down to this little option and restore from backup. And assuming there was no autosave between your last relog, then you simply want to restore the second save from the top, which you should see is timestamped from just a few minutes before when you initially logged out, and then you want to load that one up and jump back in. Now that you've reloaded, you're going to notice that the pals in your party no longer have all of their improvements and all of the items have returned to your inventory, but then you can head back over to your pal box and put your unimproved pals away, switch over to the global pal box, and you're going to find all of your improved pals ready to go, so you can drag them back over and overwrite the pre-existing pals. Now, it is important to note here that you do want to make sure you put your pals back into the pal box rather than just leaving them in your party, because otherwise when you go to reconstruct them from the global pal box, you're going to get this error message which says that you can't because they already exist somewhere within the world. But the next one on this list is going to be for all of you building enthusiasts, and it is clipping via replacement. Now, I mostly use this to put full walls in places that they're not meant to go. And this came up on my most recent build guide where a commenter was having issues with putting their full wall onto this tile here. And that's probably because the entire build for them would have been rotated a little bit to the left if they got it misaligned from the start. And it meant that this wall was more clipped through that rock and they were unable to do it. So for example, you can see here that I can't clip this full wall through this rock if I want to put it this way. However, what you can do as a workaround is use the half walls, which have much better clipping. And now that we've got the inverted half wall, it's even better. So for example, you can see that I can put the inverted half wall up here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'll clip that through the wall, and then I'm going to get my full wall and use the replacement feature, which on mouse and keyboard is 4. And I'm going to swap the half wall for the full wall. And you can see we can now put it here where we couldn't before, clipping through the rock without issues. As another example, which is going to come up soon when I do the build guide for my Helix skyscraper, you're going to be able to use this to clip walls together or through one another like you can see here. So for example, if I were to just go ahead and try and build this glass wall, I can't do it. But like we looked at before, I can use the glass triangle wall, place that, and then I can just replace that and it has no issues clipping. So once again, it's going to allow you to do some pretty cool stuff like this and fit these pieces where they otherwise wouldn't be able to go. But I've got just one more example, and this one only became possible with Tides of Terraria thanks to the addition of these inverted triangles, which are going to allow us to mesh multiple full walls together, and that lets us do some really cool decorative stuff like create windows that slide open and closed. So to do this, you need to just have both of the walls stacked up so that they make a full panel, and then you can go ahead and replace the bottom wall with a sliding door. So you can see here we've got the bottom wall, which is now a full tile, but we've still got the top inverted triangle meshed through it, and we can replace that one using the actual window. So you do just have to find the right spot. It's somewhere there. And now you can see we've got both of these meshed together, and you can hit open on the window and you get this nice little feature. So this one's pretty cool. I don't think this is hurting anyone. So surely no one is complaining about this, despite the fact it is technically a glitch. Hopefully this is just the kind of thing they can add down the track. All right, but we're ready to move on to number 4, and this next one is another item duplication glitch, but this time it is for any materials which can be used to produce something within the base. So for the example today, I'm going to be duplicating the coralum ingots because that one's pretty rare. This is probably the thing that you want to use it on the most because it's the most difficult to farm. And then what you want to do is find yourself something that you can build which is going to use that material. So I'm going to be using the advanced weapon assembly line, and then you need to make sure that you have none of those materials in your inventory. And the reason for that is so that when you're outside of base, you're not going to be able to build this item. This is critical because if you can build it while you're outside of base, it's not going to work, because fundamentally this glitch is going to depend on us tricking the game into thinking we're in the base when we're not. So instead, you want to have all of these materials just stacked in a little box within the base, and you can see that we're starting with 881 coral ore, which is going to increase shortly. So the next thing you need to do is build yourself a pillar stack like this one on the very edge of the base, but you do need to line it up in a very particular way. And the first thing I'm going to recommend is make sure that you don't build it on the bend where these two lines meet one another. It's going to be much easier, I found, if you just build it in the middle of one of these lines, and you do need to make sure that you rotate or line this pillar up in a very particular manner. So what I'm looking for is, if you look at the top of the pillars, you're going to see all of these little wooden slats, and I'm rotating it until I can find one that is longer than the others. So there you can see it right now. It's the middle one, which is facing us. And this is exactly how we want our pillar to face. We want that longer slat to face us. Now, I would also recommend don't try and line it up here where you can't really see the slats very well. Put it against something dark in the background so that you can see those pillar slats a lot easier. So once you've got that longer one facing you, then you're ready to go and place that on the very edge of the base. And you want to just try and get it so that the round edge is just on the blue line. You don't want it to be over the blue line like this. That would be no good. You want it to be kind of just inside. And I found this is the hardest part, getting it in the right position here. So I'm going to try it there. That should be pretty good because it's still all within the base and only coming over that blue line by a little bit. And then you just want to put another pillar on top, and then you're going to climb up this pillar, and you're going to notice that your character starts to stutter like this, and that's exactly what you want. Now, to make this a lot easier, you also want to go into your settings and make sure that your graphics settings are such that your maximum FPS is 30. So you want to lower your FPS so that it's easier to get this stuttering effect and tricking the game to thinking we're in the base. Then you want to go ahead and make sure that you're in the base so that you can build this material. And I like to use the alignment mode here to position it further away from me, so it's just going to be easier to place. So for me, it's holding down left trigger. For you, it'll be something else if you're on mouse and keyboard. And then you just want to sort of like walk around on this pillar until you can see it flashing that you have insufficient materials. It kind of flashes between them like this, right? And you just want to find the good spot where it's flashing very, very rapidly. And usually, like, your character will sort of just slide out of it. You can see my character is sliding slightly to the left, and now it's holding. I can't build it. I'll just move myself a little to the right again, and I'll keep sliding back until it's the case. So you're just going to do this. I'm going to wait till my character slides back a little bit. And then as soon as you get that stuttering, you just want to start placing some of these, right? Because now I'm going to go again. I'll place a couple more. There we go. There we go. Rotate back to the left. There we go. Another one. Got another one in. There we go. You just spam the button until you can build them. So we've got 6 of them here. Now I'm going to check my materials. I've got 881. So I think I accidentally built one of those using the material, but that's not going to matter. Either way, you're going to disassemble these and you're going to get all of these materials into your inventory. And it's as simple as that. So you can see now I've got an extra 300. So now when I put them in, I'm up to 1181. So we've gained some materials there, and you can just repeat this process as much as you want to keep generating more materials. So we'll try this one more time. We'll go back. What do we have there? We got 1181. So let's go back. Let's produce a couple more. We want to start inside the base. We want to use the assembly line. We want to place it somewhere over there. And now we just want to find that wiggle spot. There it is. We're going to build a couple of these. Rotate again. Keep just sliding back around the pillar. Spam, spam. One more. We'll go there. All right. What was the count? 1181. Oh, don't want to build them. We want to break them. And now we should be up to 1481 because we'll be getting 300. So this should put us up to 1481. And there you go, still 1181 in there, up to 1481. So you can see we're easily just gaining these over and over again. The more that you're going to be able to build in a single instance, the quicker you're going to be able to do this, but you can use this for any material. But we've got just one more to go, and this one is going to be similar to the second glitch because we're going to be using the save reset once again, but this time we're going to be using it to duplicate our pals that we can hatch from eggs. So this is going to save us time hatching multiple perfect pals. If you just get one perfect pal, you can use this to effectively just duplicate that into as many as you want. As you can see here, I'm breeding 2 of my perfect Hatalas together, trying to get more for my full raid army. So once you've got a full batch of 20 eggs ready for you to collect, the first thing you want to do is simply log out and then log back in again, because same as before, this is going to create a backup save for you to reload later. Once you've logged back in, go ahead and pick all of the eggs and hatch them, and then start sifting through all of your pals to see if you've got any perfect ones. And you can see here that I've got 1 because we've got the 2 rainbow passives that we need, and we've got the 3 perfect IVs. So I'm going to mark this one as a favorites number 2 so that I can find it more easily in the pal box. And now you want to head over to the global pal box and move your new perfect pal into it. And then you can log out and restore your previous save file before once again logging back in. And once you log back in, you're going to notice that all of your eggs are there once again, and you can rehatch them, and they should give you the exact same pals as before, because the pal data is generated at the time the egg is laid, not the time that it is hatched. And you can see I've got that same perfect pal yet again, though it was in a different position, but that's just because I collected the eggs in a different order this time. And then you can simply repeat this process as many times as you like to get more and more of these. However, there is one massive trade-off with this one that you need to be aware of, and anyone who's been paying close attention is probably already clicking onto, and that is that it conflicts with the first glitch we looked at today, which is the condensed chaining, because if you produce multiple pals like this, they are all going to come pre-stamped with the DNA icon, and if you recall, the DNA icon prevents the chain from working, so you need to decide whether or not you're going to use this glitch or that one, but you can't use both. But that's going to do it for this one. Hopefully at least one of those is going to be helpful for you. And if there's any that I missed that you think I should have included on the list, let me know about them in the comments down below. Otherwise, thank you for watching. I'll catch you next time. Have a good one.